Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So the new combat changes have been released on the preview server for a good few days now, and with that I have went ahead and built up my tank to be what I think is pretty appropriate and viable for this new system. So in this video I'd like to basically go over the new tank changes and what has essentially changed and the current state of a tank build within this current new system. So to start things off, I'm going to say we are tanky as hell. The reason being is mobs no longer have armor penetration, and we no longer have it either, meaning we also deal a whole lot less damage and they deal a whole lot less damage to us. And on top of that, we can now get our defense cap to 90%. So we will reduce all incoming damage by 90%, thus only taking 10% of the damage that enemies can deal to us. That is if you get this defense fully capped out and on green there at 90%. And with my build, I have it as such. Now, as a tank, I cannot really judge the aggro that DPS will deal. Thus, I'm currently unaware what offense stats I'll need to stack to maintain aggro. However, they did say on the forum post, if aggro does become a problem, then they will just simply up the modifiers on our threat powers. Now, you can see here, not much has actually changed in terms of, let's say, HP on a max build. Sure, I'm not completely maxed out, as I believe the total item level being maxed there is 50,000, and thus my HP would be a little bit higher, but from what I had before this whole change, I had pretty similar maximum HP. In fact, I had nearly exactly the same. I could in fact go ahead and change to a metallic ancestry dragonborn, and this would get above that 1.2 million mark. Now, what do you really want to cap out for a tank? Well, obviously there you want the defense, as defense is 100% guarantee thing. Whatever defense that you have, that will always be up full time unless some mob or boss can debuff you, reducing your defense. And thus this is the most reliable stat to get that maxed out. So you can see I currently have that 90% defense. Along with that, you ideally want to get your critical avoidance nice and high, as your critical avoidance will directly reduce the critical severity of enemies. So if I have 90% critical severity, I'll reduce the 90% critical severity that my enemies have, and thus basically when they critically strike me, they'll deal no extra damage to me. In the previous system, we were able to cap out critical avoidance so that we could never receive a critical hit. Well, unfortunately, that is no longer the case. Everybody's critical strike chance is based on their personal critical strike, and that percentage beside it there, mine is 50.6, and nobody can influence that, right? Unless they have some specific power which can reduce it. But critical avoidance only reduces critical severity, not their critical strike chance. So I assume enemies and such will have this at 50%, so they will critically hit you 50% of the time, and there's nothing we can do about it. Now for Deflect, this is really cool, because we can get this Deflect chance now to 90%. 90%, that's insane. Imagine getting this to 90% and then getting our Deflect severity to 90%. Meaning they'll deal next to no damage whenever they deflect, because when you deflect it, you'll basically reduce that damage again by 90%, on top of our defense reducing it by 90%. However, again, it's still more reliable to just cap out the defense before looking at critical avoidance and deflect severity. Now, to cap out deflect severity, it's actually very easily done through the Foehammer's Favor Elixir Potion. This somewhat is bugged and gives a whole lot more deflect severity than it should. So currently there I'm nearly at the 90%, but that is kind of bugged at the moment. On top of that, you can also go ahead and switch to, let's say, an artifact like the Decanter, giving you 11,000 deflect severity, meaning whenever you deflect, it will deal no damage. I'll just show you here real quick. You can see when he goes ahead and hits me, he'll deal 0 markers, right? And that's on those deflects with those arrows. We'll just go ahead and quit this out, because that is, that's just a bug with relation to this artifact going over that deflect severity cap. So don't recommend relying on that. So what do I recommend building up as a tank? Well, you ideally want as much of this HP as possible. And the way to get as much HP as possible is directly through item level. More item level you have, the more HP you'll have. We basically get our item level multiplied by 10 and then multiplied by another 20% because we're tanks, thus giving me this total of HP. On top of that, you can also increase your maximum HP through your constitution score there. You can also use a Bulwark of Brimstone overload, and you can also get more HP stacked through your boon points here, giving you a percentage, along with the guild boon right here. On top of that, radiant enchantments have changed to give a decent amount more HP there. You can see rank 15s are giving 13,200, which is pretty decent. And that in combination with our companions will also give you lots more HP. Now companions have been slightly reduced, and these, considering are mythic, give 1,000 less than they normally would, and the Energon giving 2,000 less than it would on the legendary on the live version, which is kind of sad. They should just give more HP, but sure, whatever, it is what it is. And what you want to be doing on a tank is getting this HP to its maximum, and after that you also want to ideally get this defense to its maximum 90%, but ideally you would not sacrifice HP to do it, right? But if you look over the companion tab, I am running with the slime, which gives 8% more defense. I know it says total damage there, but that's currently a tooltip error. And thus I am sacrificing, yes, 15,000 HP for that extra defense to make sure it's capped out at 90%, which, yes, is something you ideally would do just to make sure you have that 90%, which is definitely worth it. And after capping defense, you just want as much critical avoidance as possible, again reducing their crits on you, because you do not want to get one shot by a nasty big hit. And after that, then you would consider Deflect, as Deflect is a percentage chance that it can happen. However, it's pretty juicy when it does, because you can get that Deflect severity pretty high. So the setup I'm using here is pretty much maximum item level gear. You can see I'm using the Mastered Lichstone set there, basically from the Masterwork 3 equipment, and this is mainly due to the fact this is actually the highest item level set within the game. You can see older sets are only there at 980. Now, do you absolutely need this? Of course not. I'm just showing you the maximum of what you can get. And you can see it gives +5 constitution there, giving you more HP. And along with the waist set, it has +4 constitution, which is the only set that actually gives +4. The rest just give +2 to 2 different stats, giving you even more constitution. So that's pretty much it. You can see the rings I'm using here definitely help to cap out that defense. When you stand still, it procs up more of the stats there. You can see this stat here is fluctuating, and that's mainly due to the fact of these rings. However, they should in fact actually only give you percentage defense rather than stat defense. So I'm not exactly sure why it's doing that. Again, this is the preview server. Things are open to change, and there's definitely a lot of bugs. I'm literally just showing you guys how it is and how it stands right now. Now let's actually, before I go into more in depth on what I've built up, I actually want to show you how tanky we are. We're like freaking gods here, right? I'm going to go in and I'm going to fight Hallister. So here we are, here's Hallister, and you all guys know the story. The more Annihilates he does to us, and the more Annihilate stacks we gain, the more increased damage he'll deal. So here's the first Annihilate, and I've gained one of these stacks, and he'll just keep pummeling me, and you can see his damage is pretty abysmal. And here comes the second Annihilate stack. Now I'm literally just going to AFK here, and I'm going to go over more of my build. So I am using the Storyteller Journals, as they give a whole lot more HP for the actual item level they give. And they give a lot more HP now compared to the higher item level artifacts. Let's say looking at the Hallister Blast Scepter there, only giving 900 HP, compared to these Storyteller Journals still giving their set bonus. and their set bonus gives you that 20,000 extra HP, which is huge. Now, the reason I've switched to this set over what I had previously, the Erratic Drift Globe set, because the set bonus no longer benefits me. Anything that gives me more defense is not going to benefit me because I have maxed defense. Let's just use a Stone of Health here real quick so we don't maybe die to that. And you can see there it deals next to no damage. Because I have 90% defense, and there goes another Annihilate. We're already on 7 stacks and he's dealing next to no damage to us. And over on the boon section here, as I showed you before, you just want all this HP, these defense stats here, and the rest you just throw in what you need. You can get some nice deflect severity there. Let's use another Stone of Health here. Maybe we should start blocking these. But yeah. And on our companion tab here, you can see I'm literally just stacking critical avoidance and deflect as much as I can. Active companion, yeah, currently augment companions give less stats than a normal active companion gives you. You can see there it's giving you a whole lot less stats. Let's not die here. You can see when he does crit me, he actually deals a decent amount, which yeah, that's what you want to try and negate with that critical avoidance, reducing the amount of extra damage he deals. On our mount section here, again, you're literally just using what we had before, all those fortitude and prosperity insignias, getting as much HP as possible. Along with that, you want as much item level as possible, so you do, yes, want these mythic collars. Of course, they're very expensive, so it'll take a while to get them. And that's pretty much it. You can see I do have Absolution slotted. But the thing is, if I use Absolution, it says here it gives me another 20% decrease to the damage I take. But this isn't going to do anything because I already have 90% defense. I'm fully capped out. It's not going to benefit me whatsoever. Which means we can use more offensive powers now instead of using, let's say, our Absolution or Iron Warrior to give us that more tankiness. Which is kind of sad in a way that we now have that ability, but I guess it's optional to cap this defense. You don't have to. You could technically have lower defense and rely more on using your powers to cap that defense for when you actually need it, for let's say when you're taking another one of these Alistair balls, right? We're already on 15 stacks. He is doing more damage, and I might actually have to attack him now more times to gain that stamina up to maintain my HP rather than relying on a Stone of Health every now and again. And here comes another ball. But you can see we're tanky AF. However, I do believe this is going to be adjusted because mobs and bosses not having any armor pen just means, yeah, we are tanky as all hell. But it also means we can't deal much damage to them anymore. And yeah, currently with the state of it, we can't beat Zariel, we can't beat Alistair, because we can't get past those DPS checks, because we don't have the damage, because everything has defense and we have no armor pen to reduce that damage. Of course, there are ways which we can reduce that defense because of, let's say, like dread weapon enchantments or armor break, etc. You can see here we're on 18 stacks. He's dealing significantly more damage, but still nothing compared to what he would in the live server as it currently stands. There, 200k damage on Annihilate with 19 stacks is just insane. But you get my point. All of this is absolutely going to change. There's also rumors that they're going to go ahead and change it so that we actually need to stack awareness, that bosses and such like Alistair will have their awareness basically, ouch, that one hit hard, where their basic bosses and such are going to have combat advantage on their enemies basically all the time. I believe we can still reduce the damage that they deal to us. Let's not die here. And therefore you can still use powers like I used there, the Bullet Pop, to try and make sure to reduce the damage that they deal. Now you can never get this down to 100% that they'll deal no damage due to the fact of mathematics and percentages. You'll always just approach 99%, and that's about it. We are now at 22 stacks. Things are getting a bit more dicey. But still, in comparison to the live server and how many stacks you could get there, you could probably get about 12 if you were getting lucky on those deflects near the end. And that was about it, really. And considering this, yeah, we are pretty much god tanks at the moment. We're still taking these hits real easy. Now, albeit when I do get hit by those Annihilates, you actually can't see if it's a deflect or not. So a good few of these could be, yeah, just deflecting. We'll use another Alliance Battlehorn, use that Boulette and this tab power, and we should survive this. But as soon as one of these crits, right, and doesn't deflect, I'm probably going to die. It's literally just the luck of, yeah, how well my deflect is their chance being at that 61%. Which is decent. I could get it higher theoretically by sacrificing HP, but I don't necessarily want to. I have that deflect and that critical avoidance pretty maxed out there. They're very close to my item level score, meaning I can't necessarily, and there we go, that kills us. And we're at a total of 26. And the amount of damage he did there, his base damage was there 17 million base damage, and he only did 1.2 million damage to us. Theoretically, I could have survived that if I actually had full HP and had that full shield. I just wasn't really set up for that. Wasn't really paying attention. I was talking to you guys. But you get my point. You can get to really high amount of stacks with Halaster, and it's kind of fun. But yeah, currently it's bugged, and this is not going to go to the live server like this. No way. Things are going to change, and we'll see what they do. All we can really do is leave our feedback on the forums, hope they read it, and that's pretty much it. We can leave our thoughts and opinions, try not to be too abrasive or too accusational, as they're only trying to do their best, and I can't really speak much for them. So hopefully this was somewhat insightful as to the new changes coming up. One thing I would last like to mention is we are getting a buff to some of our powers and stuff. Like, I believe our Oath Strike got a 5 magnitude buff there. Shielding Strike also got a little buff there. And some of our encounter powers did as well. Like Sacred Weapon now deals 52 extra damage there per hit. Binding Oath deals 65 extra damage there. Smite has a magnitude there of 1150. Relentless Avenger has 600. And you get the point. Our Divine Judgment now having a 2200 magnitude, which is pretty awesome. But with all the change to the formula and how it works, we're not going to be dealing any more damage. We'll see once they actually get rid of defense of enemies, but they might not. They might just reduce it a bit. So that's it for this video. Hopefully I presented this well. If I did, consider leaving the video a like, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.